In today's video, I'm going to show you how to relieve hip arthritis pain. So when we're dealing with hip arthritis, there's a few things we can do at home to help minimize the stress on our hip and to help relieve pain. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on loosening up the muscles around the joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a massage gun and we're going to run it over the quadricep muscles. Now this hip flexor muscle goes across the joint, and so if it gets tight in the quadriceps, not only can it affect the knee, but it can also affect an arthritic hip. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I use the massage gun to help loosen up the quadricep. So what I recommend is start it off on a lower setting, and what we're going to do is we're going to work the main portion of the quadricep, which is right on top. That's the one that goes over the hip joint. So from here, we're going to take it down, and we're going to find any tender spots in the quad and go back and forth about 20 to 30 times. So this is a really important muscle to work if you have hip arthritis, any discomfort in the hip region. This works well. The next one is along the seam of her pants. We're going to go right along that area right there. This is called the vastus lateralis. It's another part of the quadricep muscle. Very important for hip pain. So again, we want to release any of the tension all the way up from her pelvis. We can work down, and again, focus on any of those tender spots that are sore, and then move on to the next section. The next muscle we want to loosen up to help relieve hip arthritis pain is going to be the glute muscles. So what we want to do is we want to find the greater trochanter, which is this larger bony protuberance right here. And we want to work the muscles that attach on that go to the tailbone, and then also which come up from the greater trochanter and go to the top of the hip. So we want to work all these muscles to help relieve a lot of that pressure on the hip. So what I would recommend is start from that greater trochanter, come right off that, and go right towards the tailbone, finding any of these tender spots, concentrating on that spot, and then moving on to the next one. We want to go down to the lower glute, out from the greater trochanter out, and then also go up and down through the glute here in this direction as well, and that can relieve a lot of the pressure too. The other muscle you want to treat is called the glute medius. So this sits from the greater trochanter up to the top of the pelvis. So it's going to be more on your side. And now this muscle is a hip stability muscle. Every time we're stepping, this muscle is being used, and so this often gets very tight and can cause a lot of stress and pressure on the hip. So this will really help a lot with any hip arthritis you're dealing with. And again, just work on that area 20 to 30 times and then move on to the next one. The second thing we're going to do if we're trying to relieve hip arthritis pain is we're going to do what we call a figure 4 stretch. So what that's going to look like, we're going to bring our legs up to about 90 degrees here, and we're going to cross one leg over the other. And what Renee's going to do is she's going to grab one leg behind her thigh and use her other hand to push her knee towards me. And that stretches the hip muscles that attach in the back side of the hip. And this can help stretch out any of that tension in there that can be creating some of that pressure on the hip. And you want to hold that for 10 seconds, relax, do that 2 to 3 times. And I would do both sides, but definitely the side where you're having the pain. The third exercise we're going to do if you're dealing with hip arthritis pain is it's called knee to chest. So I'm going to have Renee bring her thigh up towards her chest. She's going to flex that up, and she's going to grab in front of her knee, and she's going to flex her hip up, and that's again going to stretch out the muscles in the hip. It's also going to put the knee through range of motion too. Now if you have like a knee replacement, what you can do is you can grab your thigh instead of your knees to help pull that knee up towards your chest and help get that stretch. But this is another great one if you're dealing with any hip arthritis pain. The fourth exercise we're going to do if you're trying to relieve hip arthritis pain is we're going to bring our knees up to 90 degrees here. And we want to keep our knees together for this next one. And now nice and slowly, I want to have Renee bring her knees and legs out to the side, and then go the opposite way. You can see her arms are down like that. You want to put your arms out for some stability, and only go as far as you feel comfortable. If you can only go to here, that's fine. If you can go further, that's great, but this is a great mobility exercise for your hips, and it just goes back and forth, and I would do 10 repetitions on each side. The fifth exercise we're going to do to help relieve hip arthritis pain is called a glute bridge. So the glute bridge, what we're going to do is we're going to bring our legs up so our heels are on the ground or the table, and I'm going to have Renee put her arms down by her side. What she's going to do is she's going to contract her glutes, causing her hips to raise off the table. And what we want to do is we want our knees, our hips, and our shoulders to be in a nice straight line. She's going to hold that for 10 seconds. And then relax. She's going to repeat that 3 times, and that's a great strengthening exercise for the hips. The main thing is we want to make sure that leg is in a nice straight line. You should definitely be feeling the contraction in the glute, and that means we're getting the stress right where we want it. By strengthening the glute, that will help take pressure off the arthritis in the hip and help relieve a lot of your pain. The final exercise we're going to do to help relieve hip arthritis pain, this one you need an actual assistant to help you with. So a significant other, anybody that can gently just pull a little bit on a leg, that is what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to have Renee bend this leg up on the table and straighten this leg. So this is the leg that we're treating. What the person's going to do is just gently grab the ankle, okay? And all we're doing is just gently using our body weight to mobilize the hip. So I'm just basically going to lean back and forth, and what you'll feel is a slight gapping, a slight stretch at the hip joint itself. Sometimes you'll hear a little pop or click, and that's normal and safe. You may also feel a little gapping at the knee or the ankle as well, and that's okay. As long as you're just gently giving a little traction, that's fine. And what I would do, I like to go back and forth nice and slow for about 10 times. If you want, you can also just gently hold for about 10 seconds and then relax too. That's a great exercise to help take some pressure off the joint. A lot of times with hip arthritis, there's a lot of kind of jamming of the femur into the socket, and this kind of just gently gaps that joint and takes pressure off of that. So if you have any questions about treating hip arthritis, give my office a call at 703-912-7822 or schedule online at novacarwellness.com.